everybody, and welcome back to Music Impossible. This is Professor Jim, and here we are in the beginning of week 2 of this beginner music theory class. I hope you're doing the assignments, the quizzes, and the worksheets and everything. It's just going to really help you build that foundation, because today we're going to start talking about steps and leaps. And just to give you a little bit of foreshadowing, steps and leaps is how we begin to measure some of the formulas that exist in music theory on how we build music scales, how we build intervals. An interval is the distance between two notes. It's a unit of measure. And also that leads to building chords and harmony and how we construct melodies. So all of this is just a building blocks program here. All right, let's dive back in. Let's do a quick review of what we talked about last time. And we have our treble clef staff here again, and we're going to get into treble clef in the next lesson. But if we remember, the music staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. So 5 lines and 4 spaces. We remember we have lines 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to be referring to the lines and spaces here as we go along. And then we had 4 spaces. So lines and spaces are important with determining our steps and our leaps and how those look. We're going to go over to Sibelius now. And Sibelius, if you remember, is the software program used to create professional-looking scores and music for different instruments, vocals, choirs. You can do anything with this program. So if you're interested in learning more about Sibelius, we do have some programs in our library that include Sibelius. Today I'm going to use it to illustrate steps and leaps. Now, in music, when a note moves up or down, it either moves in steps or leaps. And it's pretty straightforward what it means. A step means it just goes one note at a time. So, example here, let's take a look at a step. Let's go to our first space here on the treble clef staff. And we're going to write the note that happens to be the note F in treble clef, or the note A in bass clef. And if we have an F and we want to go up by a step, we're just going to go up to the very next note. So when it moves from a space to the nearest line, whether it goes up or down, we call that a step. So in this case, if we go up a step, we would go to the second line. So the first space to the second line, a space to a line, we would call that a step. Conversely, we can go down a step from this note as well. And we just go down to the first line. That is the nearest line to that space note. And we could pick any space note we want to here. We could take, space number 3 there. And if we go down a step from space number 3, that would be line number 3. If we go up a step, that would be line 4. We call that a step. And we could do the same thing if we start on a line instead of a space. So for example, if we start on a line, let's pick line number 2. We'll pick line number 2 here. And if we want to go down a step from line number 2, we would go down to the first space. So second line to first space right there. If we want to go up a step from that G, you guessed it, we're going to go to the second space. So that is just going and moving by steps. As we get into more advanced music theory, and I'm talking about college level voice leading and harmony, really complicated stuff, we expand on our definitions of steps and leaps, but for our purposes today, that is going to be a step. Now, if we come over here and we start looking at leaps, we have a lot more choices when it comes to leaps. When a note moves from a space to another space or line that is bigger than a step, we call that a leap. So essentially, anything that isn't a step, we're going to consider that as a leap. So let's do a couple of examples here. Let's say we start on, let's say the first space, and that's an F in treble clef or an A in bass clef. And let's just go up to the very next space. Space number 2, that's a leap. We skip that line in between. That's considered a leap. Let's go up to the 5th line. Right there, that is also a leap. It skips a bunch of stuff in between, so therefore it's a leap. So anything that's larger than a step is going to be a leap. Oh, by the way, if you go up, you can also go down. That can also be a leap. So let's say our first note here, let's pick something a little bit higher, maybe the fourth line. Let's go to the fourth line. Let's do the fourth line right there, and we're going to go down by a leap. And again, anything larger than a step. So a step down from D would be that third space. So we could pick any note lower than the third space, and that would be considered a leap. And I don't know, let's go with this note below the staff. And there you go. So we can, as we talked about in the last lesson, you can extend staffs by adding extra lines above and below the staff. We call those ledger lines. More on that to come. But again, this is also a leap, and line to line there, also a leap. It's bigger than a step. And as we continue to learn about steps and leaps, we are going to use these terms and use this for lessons and lessons to come. We're going to be learning about these steps and these leaps as we build chords and harmonies and melodies. And we're talking about how we construct melodies by understanding that leaps and steps and how they work well and don't work well in certain circumstances when we construct our melodies. So let's keep going with the foundation. Do your quizzes, do your assignments for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. We're going to dive in a little bit next time to looking at the notes on the treble clef staff. We're going to start learning how to read music on these staffs, and it's going to be another level. We're going to keep adding to it. All right, everybody, go do your work. We'll see you on the next one.